administer the vaccine. All of us, but those who resist. Prime ministers have spoken of us in this way. What has prepared you to take on this challenge?
I am the first post-independent prime minister. We need to shift away from that and focus on what is it that the Jamaican people want and need, and what is it that has kept us from achieving that. And for me, it's clear that the challenge is that we have not understood what our colonial masters have done to us, and we have not understood what our colonial system is doing to us, and that is what we need to change. So what has prepared me to be possibly the leader of this new Jamaica? And by the way, I don't intend that it has to be me. It could be anybody else within the UIC. Once we embrace the same vision and message, which is to bring out the best in all our people. But for me, mother of three in
I just lost your voice for a moment.
Oh, sorry. I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're saying what for me, because I'm waiting to hear you say, what is it that has prepared you to be better than those who, here's the note I have taken, just so listeners can stay with us on this critical point. And you can, if I mischaracterize it, just stop me. Previous prime ministers, those who called us ungovernable, those who denigrate us as being fool or stupid or ignorant, you're saying those previous prime ministers, some of them lacked the heart and the competence to recognize the need to escape the colonial past and make certain changes. Some were more focused on themselves as prime minister and the power and the glory that brings, rather than focusing on giving the people the attention, the strategies, and the effort that was needed to move us forward. Did I get it?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, with the exception that I am not saying that they're not competent. I can't presume that they're not competent. In fact, I would think, and I've listened to many of them. I've listened to a Bruce Golden, for example. I've listened to a PJ Patterson, for example. And I wouldn't presume to say these men did not have the competence. There's something else missing, and that's something I think is the heart. The love of the people, the desire to see the because what I've noticed with politicians, Mrs. Lawrence, Mr. Palmer, what I've noticed with our politicians, they're not short-sighted in the quality of lives they want for themselves. You see that in their home, you see that in their surroundings. So they like the good life, they want the high life. What shocks me is that they don't seem to want that good and high life for all of Jamaica. So for example, when I go to a Singapore and look at the love the leaders of Singapore have for their people in the quality of the environment, the roads, the buildings, the structures, the governance, the care for a meticulous economy that helps the average Singaporean to do well. You don't see that here. You see our politicians, yes, they talk a good talk, but they don't deal with systems and processes and structures. They don't make sure our country looks like they want their homes to look. You see them building massive homes, high quality furniture, high quality architecture, high quality landscaping. But you don't see that in the entire Jamaica.
No, they will go out and visit They will go out and visit their constituency where the people are still using wood fire. I mean, I love some things cooked with a wood fire, but that is the common experience. People have pit latrines, some have no electricity, and the constituency would be like that for as long as they are serving it. And I take your point; it is very well made. I want a story from your childhood, your teenage years, your adult years. Tell me something that you say would demonstrate the heart of love that you are willing to share as a leader of this country.
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you a very serious story that really drives me to this day. As I was saying before, born to a single mother of three, many Jamaicans went through that situation. Very poor, a one-room home, outside bathroom, shared with other people. A mother who worked in the crash program, washing people's dirty clothes and sweeping the streets, and me selling on the sidewalk to help the family out at age 9, 10. So all of that, all of the things that many Jamaican children went through. But when I was about 11, I ran away from home because I met my father, and he turned out to be far more affluent than my mother. I ran away from home and went to live with my father. And I saw a different side of life, a more opulent side of life. But somebody said something pivotal that changed me. The person said that to my father, Joe, the young man had the much with his head, so send him to a school and can do something with his hand. And so that's how I ended up at Spanish Town Secondary. And for the first time in my life, I realized how really done I was, so to speak, and how disappointing I was to my father in that regard. And it pained him that I wasn't a bright student, apparently, at the time. And so I determined that I was going to be a bright student when I went to grade 8 at Spanish Town Secondary. I determined that I was going to transform my life. But not just mine. I looked at the students in that school, and I went on a mission, a campaign to say to them, you can do better than what the society has told you that you are. Because these are all failures, right? People who have failed the common entrance twice and failed even like the entrance, and here we are.
Yeah, that's like a dumping ground.
Sorry?
That's like a dumping ground.
A dumping ground, yeah.
Dumping ground. They called them new secondary schools at the time.
Yes,
and
yes.
It was a dumping ground for all of us. And I set about to transform that school. I created for the first time a science club, a drama club, a debate society, a quiz team. And I said to them, listen, you are more than this. Let us emulate our high school fellows. Let us look at the St. James and the St. Catherine around us, and the Kingston College and the Calabar. We are no less than these people. And I want you to know, by the time I finished that school, I was head boy, student council president, science club founder and president, drama club president, debate society captain.
all
the things that you
all of the clubs that you started.
Yes, but guess what happened? Now you have these students who are passing math and English and integrated science and chemistry and electrical at the CXC level. This is the first time. This is a shocker for the school system now. The kind of output that was coming from, because now they believe in themselves. Okay. I helped them to believe in themselves, and that also changed me. It tells me that if you help people to understand their true competences and don't just tell them that they're less than and treat them as less than, you can bring out the best in them. We did at Spanish Town Secondary, and we can do that at Jamaica level.
Of course, you can do it in a community. You can do it at you're right, at the national level. But you know what I'm loving about what you said there is you not only change the students and the school environment, but it also brings out the best in you. It seems to me that if politicians really work for people, it transforms them too. Now, so you got the transformation coming out of a heart of wanting to do more for yourself. You change your environment, and then I just want to move into your preparation on the international scene, because let me tell you, I want to understand your vision of what our foreign affairs policy ought to be. How should Jamaica be positioned in this global economy, and what vision you have for us? And then Percy, I have a question for you, but please make note of mine.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just wondering the fact that you accomplished so much as a young person, in terms of being head boy and so on. Were you attracted at that point to any of the political parties that were around? Because you were obviously a leader and so on in terms of, before you answer that big question, because that is about the vision for Jamaica.
Yeah.
Were you then?
I was never, and can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Very clearly.
I was never, ever attracted to either of the two political parties, and I'll tell you why. My mother was an activist, a big PNP activist, and I from the age of, I can remember from the age of 7, traveling around with her to all of these PNP meetings, women's meetings. Jamal, she used to teach in Jamal, and I would sit on Portia Simpson's lap. I was in Michael Manley's band on stage at the arena. So she was really involved in this thing, and I watched her work, and I was so impressed by her because she was a poor single mother struggling, and she found the time to engage fully in the political process. But the more I studied what was going on, the more I realized that she was being duped. And so at around 17, about to turn 18, she wanted me now to get ready to vote. And I said to her, Mommy, I can't vote for your party. She was mad. What's wrong with you? Why you can't? If you grew up in a PNP, you should vote PNP. I said, no, I can't. And then I said, but don't worry, I can't vote GLP either. She said, why? I said, because all I see is that the two parties divide the people and trick the people and extract the wealth of the people. She was livid. She was mad. And from that's where we changed. We parted ways politically. And she was always on the PNP side, promoting the PNP. And I was always on the people side, promoting that we need to have a better system of governance. As early as 18, of course, I spent the next several years working in the community. I was in Seafood Gardens now by that time. So they didn't have, they had a terrible sewage problem, sewage that was just spilling over in the back of the community, causing the children to get sick with rashes and so on, and the mothers. So I fought to have that cleaned up. And PJ Patterson was Prime Minister at the time, Uchi Williams was the MP, and I led a demonstration, a march that came out in Spanish Town Road, and then PJ sent some people down there, and they cleaned up the sewage problem, fixed the pump, and that was addressed. Then I attacked the telephone problem and got telephones. Then I attacked the police outsource problem and got the police in. So I was now focused on how do we fix the problems of the people, not so much the getting involved in one of the two political parties, because I knew that what they did mostly was to trick the people, get their votes, get the power, make themselves rich. But the people like my mother and others remain relatively poor and were not given the tools and the guidance and the information that they need to become wealthy individuals.
All right. Are you ready for my international, foreign affairs question now? Because I know that we will speak again and a lot of your local experience will come to the fore. But in the time that we have, I do want to try and touch as many things as possible. So you've worked on the international stage. I just want to understand your experience there and how you see Jamaica taking her position on the world stage.
Sure. I've had the privilege of working with over 120 different countries in my capacity as a finance person, dealing with economic issues, dealing with financing micro-enterprise. Up until recently, I was the chairman of the Oil Credit International, one of the largest social impact investment firms in the world.
So you've resigned your chairmanship?
Sorry?
You have resigned your chairmanship?
Yes, I recently resigned after I was arrested for leading the peaceful protest in Kingston. So up until then, I was then serving my second term as chairman of that organization.
Can you repeat that again? I didn't hear
sorry?
that. The organization. What's the name of the organization?
Oil Credit International.
What for credit? The first word is not clear.
OICO. OKIO.
OKIO.
Yeah, OIKO. OICO Credit. OIKO. OICO Credit.
Got it. Are you a part of starting that institution or?
No, I was elected back in 2017 to their board.
Yeah.
Because of my relationship to the whole business of international finance human rights protection. I've been involved in human rights, communication rights for some time. And so I was elected by them to serve on their board in 2017. And in 2019, I was elected chairman of their board. And then re-elected again in June of 2020 to serve a second term.
Yeah. So was your resignation voluntary, or it's a requirement of the organization?
No, it was voluntary. I didn't want to bring much attention to the organization from that perspective. I wanted to make sure that there was a separation. So once I got arrested for this walk for liberty or march on North South, I tendered my resignation. They asked me to stay on the board for the next 2 months. I'm there still until the end of next month, but I'm no longer the chairman. And then I have resigned already effective November 30th from the board itself as well. So just one of the sacrifices you make when you do the things,
when you're committed to a cause.
Yes. So I'm committed to Jamaica. So whatever it takes for us to make sure we get the kind of country that we need, I'm going to do. So I'm 50 years old, and I have done and achieved a lot personally, and I want to now make sure I spend the next 50 years letting Jamaica achieve what it could have achieved 25, 30, 40 years ago. I'm going to commit to making that happen now for the rest of my life.
All right, I want to narrow the focus of my question just to make it easier to chew on. The world is a large place. What of our relationship with, say, North America or Europe? How would you characterize it, and what kind of change would you advocate, if any?
How would you position us as a country, seeing that those things have had impact on us?
Yeah. Well, basically, the Jamaica that we have today is largely a Jamaica that doesn't have control over much of its destiny. Much of our programs or laws are laws that are initiated by what I like to call our colonial masters. And that's because we have developed an economic model here where we depend largely on grants and loans to operate. I want to change Jamaica's financial model from what it is to a model that is based on sound money and what I call free banking. This obviously is going to take us out of the regular banking arrangement with the rest of the world to one that protects Jamaica's purchasing power. So that a Jamaican citizen who works for 45 years and saved their money would not have to invest in crazy things to try to make a return to keep up with the cost of living, but would have the purchasing power protected. So I have that in mind. In terms of our international policies on the various agreements that we've entered into, any agreement which undermines the sovereignty of the individual citizen of Jamaica or the sovereignty of the nation of Jamaica will be revisited and adjusted accordingly. But we want to maintain very good trading relationships with all countries, whether it is China or America or Europe or England. We want to maintain good trade relations with them, but never at the expense of the Jamaican local industry and the people of Jamaica. So we will enter into no agreement or maintain any agreement which gives outsiders preferential treatments in our market at the expense of our local industries.
Okay. What do you think about globalization? And it's interesting that you are being interviewed when the World Economic Forum, I'm sure you've heard of them, or the Davos Summit, that are meeting today in Switzerland. You know anything about those people and what they do and globalization?
Sure. The UIC is very committed to protecting individual liberty. If you look at our platform or manifesto, we're keen on protecting the sovereignty of the individual. So any arrangement, whether it's called globalism or anything else, that takes away the sovereignty of the individual will be opposed by the UIC and will not be facilitated in Jamaica. We want to make sure that every Jamaican, whether they are, for example, or Maroons, we want them to enjoy their sovereignty in the space that they have and in a way and culture and manner that they deem best, as long as they do not use force or fraud to infringe on the rights Jamaican, as you see now in the current COVID space. We want to make sure that as a citizen, you have complete autonomy over you, as long as you respect the boundaries for the life, liberty, and property rights of others.
All right. Mr. Patterson, we are up on our 8 o'clock break. So this is one of our longest breaks. It's really about 7 minutes. I'd love it if you would remain on hold. And I'd like you to think on these 3 areas for me when we come back. Given what you've just said, I know you must have a huge platform for law reform, constitutional reform. So I want to hear you on that. What is your vision for those things? And then I'm going to turn your attention to social reform. What are the things that you have in mind in terms of rejigging the order of things on the ground? Should that touch on reparation, how we deal with the Maroons and with the Rastafarian communities and so on? Those aspects of culture and social engineering that are of importance today. And the last thing I want us to touch on is finance and planning, how you see yourself funding the various plans and what in the current landscape you would want to see change. Stay with us, please. We're having a conversation with Joseph Patterson. He is a candidate for leadership of this country when the position becomes vacant.
We'll be right back. BBC News. Hello, this is Jerry Smith. Moscow has entered a partial coronavirus lockdown, with Russia experiencing a record number of infections and deaths. The latest official daily figure for deaths is again more than 1,100. Workers across Russia have also been given 9 days off from Saturday. Oleg Boldarev is in the Russian capital.
The majority of shops are closed.
They are ordered to stay.
Unvaccinated, elderly are ordered to stay at home, all of their exemptions. Crucially, Moscow is not the hardest hit as far as hospital beds are going. In many Russian regions, this is not so. A couple of Russian regions said they're running very much to 100% capacity now. And in many regions, the authorities are saying that they will look and see whether this week of hate, stay away from work, will do anything to curb the infections. And there are lots of doubts that it will in such short space.
A banned Islamist organization in Pakistan says its supporters are continuing with their march on Islamabad, a day after clashes with security forces near Lahore. 5 police officers were killed and many others wounded after they tried to disperse the protesters. Shumaila Joffrey reports.
The protesters are demanding the deportation of the French ambassador from Pakistan because drawings of the Prophet Muhammad were published in the aftermath of a deadly Islamist attack on a school teacher in France last year. The protesters faced no resistance as they entered Gujranwala in Punjab, but trenches have been dug on the highway
of the march with stepped-up security and barriers placed at entry and exit points.
The UN Crime Agency says it's recorded Asia's biggest ever drug seizure. The increase in drug trafficking has been linked to deteriorating governance in Myanmar's Shan state. Here's Celia Hatton.
Police in Laos' northern Bokeo province intercepted a truck which appeared to be carrying beer crates. Stashed inside, they found a record haul: 55 million amphetamine tablets and over 1.5 tons of crystal methamphetamine. The regional head of the UN's Office on Drugs and Crime, Jeremy Douglas, told the BBC there's been a significant increase in drug supplies to the Golden Triangle, the intersection of Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar, leading the wider region to be absolutely flooded with methamphetamine.
There have been intense battles between Tigrayan fighters and Ethiopian federal troops and their allies in the northern Amhara region. The fighting is concentrated around the key towns of Desye and Kombolcha. There are fears for the tens of thousands of displaced people sheltering in Desye after fleeing violence elsewhere. Kombolcha is an industrial hub home to the area's main airport. There have been more airstrikes on the Tigrayan capital, Mekelle. World News from the BBC. Protests are continuing in Sudan against Monday's military coup. A BBC correspondent in Khartoum says hundreds, sometimes thousands of people have continued to join demonstrations both in the capital and in other cities. Many banks and other businesses are closed as part of a protest movement demanding a return to civilian rule. The French President Emmanuel Macron has spoken to the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison for the first time since a major diplomatic row over the cancellation of a deal to buy French submarines. Mr. Macron told Mr. Morrison by phone that the incident last month had broken the relationship of trust between the countries. He said it was up to the Australian government to propose concrete actions to redefine their relationship. The judge leading an investigation into last year's massive explosion in the port of Beirut has suspended the questioning of the former Prime Minister, Hassan Diab, after Mr. Diab filed a lawsuit questioning his authority. It's the latest frustration to beset Judge Tarek Wettar, who has sought for months to interrogate Mr. Diab and other senior officials. The South African cricketer Quinton de Kock has apologised for withdrawing from a T20 World Cup game against the West Indies on Tuesday over a team directive that all players must take the knee. This report from Pumza Filani.
In a lengthy statement, Quinton de Kock has explained his change of heart. He said he would do whatever it took to show solidarity against racism. The wicket-keeper also denied accusations that he is racist, revealing for the first time that his stepmother and stepsisters are black. Still, his refusal to follow the anti-racism directive issued by Cricket SA caused a row back in his home country.
Pumza Filani. BBC News.
The station that makes you feel good.
I love the station. I think it's great.
My station.
Moving.
My station.
Moving. Keep it right here. Keep it right here.
Bess FM, keep listening.
One in. A hurricane we name. Are we rough? Whether we are man hurricane or woman hurricane. We want you know that. We come here for mash up building, blow down things and take life. Flood out place. We no ramp. We no respect no one. So no take no chance with we. Listen to Adprem and prepare. Hurricanes do happen, so be prepared. Yes, be prepared.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Live the life. Respect the music. And keep your radio locked in. Best 100 FM.
Speak the language of love. Tune in to Best 100 FM. Join me, your host, Minute Lawrence, on the Morning Connection, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Monday to Thursday. Get ready.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I ever met. I'm stuck on your
Half a tree.
Why the bus box up? Sorry, young man. I never mean to step on your toe.
You're good, Granny.
Hi, Grandma. Here is a seat. Thank you, my dear. You know how long I did stand up on the bus stop and wait? Be considerate. It is contagious. Let's pass it on to the weak and the strong.
Enemy came up against your.
Hey, this is Apostle Siobhan Lawrence, and I'll be on Bess FM every Thursday at 9 p.m. with a program that is called Purpose Can't Die. In this season, you should win. In this season, it's your winning season. You don't want to miss it. Apostle Siobhan Lawrence from Refuge Kingdom Deliverance Ministry will be on the air. This is your time to move into your goal that God has set before your life. Join me on the air, Apostle Siobhan Lawrence on Bess FM.
I've got to go with my purpose. The Lord has prepared for me.
Fearless and love more, 'cause you open up the door.
Live, camera, volume.
Live It Up Fridays on Bess 100 FM, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with I, Ibi Lion, each and every Friday, giving you the better vibes heard everywhere.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats.
Welcome back to the Morning Connection, Mr. Patterson. Hello, Mr. Patterson.
Hello.
Can you check the line to make sure Mr. Patterson is still on for me, please?
I'm right here. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you see how impatient I am. That's how the voters stay now when they say Mr. Patterson. They very much want a quick response. All right, we are enjoying the conversation with you, and not just us, but I just want to tell you that some of the listeners who are giving us feedback online are receiving what you're saying very well. So be comforted that you are finding common ground with a few of us, not just as interviewers. We're feeling the vibe this morning. So, all right. Which one you wanna start with? I did say when we come back, I'd want you to touch into the process of reform that you would embark on to bring this unsteady ship into alignment with the vision that you have.
Very good. We have a number of plans and programs, but I want to first touch on what you might call constitutional reform,
yes,
and which I prefer to call constitutional replacement.
Constitutional replacement. Okay.
No, you don't listen to my program, so you don't know that I'm one of the persons who say that we don't have a constitution.
Oh, there you go. Wonderful. Glad to hear that.
That's why I'm chuckling.
So what we have in Jamaica today, of course, is a document which is designed to serve the interest of the Crown and not the interest of the Jamaican people. And so the UIC will be replacing a current document with a truly Jamaican constitution, one that will, for the first time, provide true independence and true freedom and real liberty to the Jamaican people. I can jump into the structure of that just to give you a taste of what we're looking at. As you know, right now we have a prime minister that is elected. In the UIC's constitution, we'll have a president that is elected by the people of Jamaica nationally. Right now you have 21 senators which are appointed, 13 by the prime minister and 8 by the opposition leader, which makes them, for the most part, rubber stamps of these two leaders and their political parties. The UIC will have independently elected senators only, the 14 senators down from 21, all elected by their respective parishes. As you know, currently the MPs are, for the most part, handpicked by their political parties. They're funded by private sector, big money, and they're therefore controlled by those elements. The UIC will change that. We're going to have a 100% publicly funded electoral system in terms of campaign financing. And so no candidate will be funded by big money or by their political parties, but will be individually funded for a very structured campaign process that is uniform, that is equal for all participants, and which will be low cost as a result of that, very standardized, and will ensure that we have even the poorest of person who wants to represent their constituents can do so without the fear of being marginalized by the rich and wealthy in the system. So those are just a few key parts of our platform. One more I should mention is that we'll no longer have ministers of government being pulled from the House of Representatives or from the Senate. So no politician, but rather qualified, competent subject matter experts will be nominated by the executive branch of government, vetted publicly by the Senate, and voted in or out by the House of Representatives, thus giving us high quality, very competent, focused subject matter experts running our respective ministries to ensure good value for money for the Jamaicans.
One, just quickly. So, elected president, elected 21 senators, the member of parliament.
Down from 21.
Oh, yeah, 14, everybody representing their parish. That's what I am assuming. That's correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And then what about what you do with the MPs now? Would we still hold on to the 63 MPs as is? How that part I wasn't clear about.
Right. So for the moment, we'll have the 63 MPs until we decide to reduce or
reconfigure the constituencies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But you're saying MPs would be elected by the persons of each constituency.
Yeah.
I take it you would be presenting a slate of MPs.
Or they'll have to put
to
themselves
vote
forward.
under this party, and then they would be elected in the ordinary way that other MPs contest for the seat.
Yeah, for the purpose of the existing setup, the UIC will be contesting elections under the existing setup.
Yeah.
So under the existing setup, we're going to elect 63 MPs and 228 councillors and so on. But once we get control of government, we're now going to go on an agenda.
This is the reform. I understand that.
The Constitution, yeah.
All right, I understand that.
Okay.
All right, so that's as it relates to constitutional replacement and just the reshaping of government.
Okay. Social reform.
Sorry, let me allow you to ask the next part of the question.
Social reform. She had asked you.
No, I want to know if he's finished with law reform, because there are a number of areas. You and I are in agreement that a lot of the laws that get passed with expedition are pushed from the outside and reflect the agenda of trading partners and so on. So law reform is a very big area for me because we're not seeing on the ground where the laws that we are promoting or the laws that we are enforcing or what we are giving precedence to, we're not seeing it matching what the people need in order to prosper and to progress.
Correct. And I mean, I'm only giving you a small taste
highlights
where we're going because it's a very elaborate subject.
Yes.
But on the subject of social reform, I would love to talk about some of those.
Yes.
So first of all, a leading project of ours will be what we call, the Youth Employment Solution. As you know, many of our young people fail at the high school level currently because our education system is not designed to bring out the best in our students. So a part of the short-term remedy of that is for us to have an immediate program after high school where every student who is not going on to university or college is immediately employed, where they learn various skills, whether it's in the armed forces, in the police, in the emergency services, in agriculture, in science, scientific research and development, but they're immediately absorbed into a program which you can call apprenticeship or something like that. But this is very, very focused on work. So they're going to be like really gainfully employed as a full-time employee, where they're both learning and working and producing at the same time. They remain in this program until they are absorbed into the private sector in a regular job, wherever it is. But this is going to be a program that keeps our young people out of harm's way, out of the reach of gangs. So we can starve the gangs.
May I ask at this juncture whether in that program you will give any special attention to unlocking the entrepreneurial skill that seems to reside in every Jamaican?
Absolutely. Within this program, based on how the person responds, they, for example, might be paired with an existing business owner to gain. Because see, entrepreneurship is one thing. To have a desire to be an entrepreneur and having the skills and competences are two different things. I run a program right now called Yes Jamaica, where I help young people to become entrepreneurs. And one of the key things that you learn very fast, a person might have a desire for business, but if they don't understand how money works and finances, they're going to fail. They might want to sell something, but if they don't understand marketing and sales properly, they're going to fail. If they might be good at sales, but they're not good at operations, they don't know how to design an operating process, and so on. So you want to make sure that you don't just say become an entrepreneur, but you want to pair them up with mentors. And also let them learn that they have to earn first. You know, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to learn to be a good employee. First learn, build skills, understand how business works, and then you launch out. So yes, they'll be allowed to transition from that into their own enterprises, which we fully promote as a movement.
All right. Can I ask you to now just touch a little bit for me on the finance and planning side of things? Because in a short while, we are going to have our callers begin to interact with us.
Wonderful. So one of the biggest transformational elements in the UIC's manifesto is that we're eliminating all taxes and duties and everything save two. So you're no longer going to have all those many variations of taxes. You're not going to have this massive complex tax system, which creates a lot of heavy burden and time and whatever for you to process. We're going to have a simple flat tax of 10% on income from all sources. And we're going to have a flat, a GCT of 10% on all goods and services. Now, these taxes are targeted for primary purposes. The 10% income tax, which will apply to all Jamaicans on incomes from all sources, will be used to finance public goods and services. These are the core.
So you have a slate of tax reform to the nitty-gritty that you've worked out can address the cost of doing what you want to do. What I'd love to hear from you on now, I've put a little note on my pad here, and I put Africa versus China versus Europe versus America. I'm looking now at on the financial side, in a broader scope, how we interact in concerning money matters with these centers of power and influence, just to see where your vision is as it relates to development, national development.
Well, everything begins with the reality of where we are. So where we are today, Jamaica takes in about $750 billion in revenues. How you allocate those revenues, how you use them is the key thing. We have relationships with our foreign partners, whether it's China or the US or Europe, the UK, where we borrow and we get grants and we use those to fund. Jamaica is going to take under the UIC is going to take a different tack. We're going to focus on making sure that Jamaica becomes self-sufficient from a financial standpoint. And we've seen already, we do have the economic base locally. Where we have a gap, a significant gap, is that the current regulatory framework works to protect big businesses and suppress small businesses. So we're going to flip that and make sure we have an environment that works to encourage and facilitate and promote small businesses and micro enterprises and gives big business no additional advantage other than the fact that they're already big. But they don't have a regulatory framework that gives them an advantage. Our partners may not be happy with that because they, may want to keep certain things in place to ensure certain sales arrangement between the two countries or the
all right, give me just a short sentence on how you see Africa, the diaspora, and new partners focusing in this change that you're envisioning.
Our change goes very wide. We're looking at building, going back to the days when we talk about federation, we want to build a Caribbean federation and expand that into the African diaspora and Africa itself. We are for a United States of Africa, if you will, and we're for a united Caribbean, if you will, and we're for giving, in the words of Marcus Garvey, to go back to Africa, giving the African man and woman, wherever they are in the world, a sense that they have a place to call home, which is there to protect them and their interests, and that is motherland Africa. So we have a broader vision to go beyond just Jamaica and the Caribbean to incorporate with Africa.
And to reconnect us to our roots.
Yes.
All right. I want Pastor Palmer is itching to say something to you. And then I have one last area that the producer has said we must make sure we cover that. And then we're going to open the lines. So, Pastor.
I just think, in terms of your philosophy of how are you a Garveyite, back to Africa. I'm just trying to understand. There seems to be a whole lot of mix.
He's a hybrid.
Yeah. What are you really?
I'll tell you what we are, first and foremost, and this is critical to the UIC's mission. We are about the empowerment of the individual. That's number one. We must, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're hearing. I'm hearing you.
Okay. So we must ensure that we protect the rights of the individual. And one such individual, a key individual, is the black man, is the black woman. And so we believe strongly in the principles and teachings of Marcus Garvey, not in a carte blanche way. We believe in being pragmatist. So, for example, I have studied and I admire with tremendous amount of admiration Lee Kuan Yew and how he was able to guide and direct his country to becoming a first-class country where they enjoy the greatest of freedom with high levels of economic prosperity. But I also believe strongly in the vision of Marcus Garvey in ensuring that the African man and woman have a nation that protects them, that wherever they are in the world, they can go back to Africa. And back to Africa doesn't just mean going physically, but in your mind.
Yes.
So the African consciousness and the African mind is protected by a system that now reflects him or her. So our education system must reflect our roots as a Black people, our healthcare system, our economic model, and our global perspective must respect the nationalization of the Black man's consciousness to believe in himself again and believe in his heritage and create a unified Africa for the world.
All right. I believe that you'll find a lot of congruence in how we feel here about some of those things. So what you have said, I wouldn't test you further on that. Safe to say that I, for one, I am resisting the urge to put you in a box just yet. I think you're like the internet right now. You need, you need to be free from regulation and typecasting so that you can build your links with the people and then truly reflect something that is of Jamaica for Jamaica. The last thing that we want to touch on with you, political mobilization, how you're building your team, what kind of support you have, what kind of support you need. Without giving any of your secrets, our greatest fear for you is that you would be like that beautiful little goldfish that swim out into the ocean and gets eaten by the sharks. So that was a cartoon that somebody did for Carousel.
The sharks are circling already. And,
So we fear for your safety, and we just want to know that you're okay. So you don't have to tell us everything, but just give us what you're able to share.
I feel. Well, the good thing is the UIC is not one man. The UIC is a movement. And so right now I am the face of the movement, but I am not the movement. So even if you were to take me out of the picture, the movement continues. And the movement is building very strongly. We have determined from the very beginning not to be a puppy show movement where you come out and make grand declarations and have grand press conferences and then suddenly you die afterwards.
Yeah.
So we've been growing from the bottom up. So we've been a grassroots movement. It's taken many years. I mean, I came back to Jamaica in 2011 after being in Canada for a number of years. So I've been here now for 10 years. The first 2 years I spent re-engaging, reconnecting, and understanding where the country's at. And then the next 8 years after that has been a building period. So we've been building. So our membership has been steadily building.
They're a big bottomed. Sorry. No, I was making a little humorous. I was saying you're a big bottomed movement.
Yes. So we're a big bottom movement.
African. You're an African movement.
Yeah. So we're coming from the grassroots. So we're not top down. We make these grand things and then you fizzle out.
Yes, and you die in the execution.
Exactly. So we're fizzling up. So we're coming up from the ground. So here's what happens now. Quick thing you need to know.
Yes.
When it comes down to funding, we're not taking funding from any private sector organization, big organization that wants to change our agenda. So if you're not with our agenda, we don't want
keep your money.
So what we've done is to build an organization which is based on grassroots funding. So it's the Jamaican citizen sending $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 here in Jamaica. The diaspora sending $10 US, $50 US, $100 US. England, £5, £10, £20. Canada, $20, $50, $200. So that's how we're building this movement.
Yeah.
It's slower. It takes us a longer time. You have to slowly build confidence. You have to slowly connect with the people because we're very skeptical. We have been robbed. We have been tricked. We have been abused by two parties for 77 years. It's not easy for us to trust anymore. So the UIC has to build trust. And we've been building that trust slowly but surely. And now we're at a level where, for example, I used to pay for everything out of my pocket. So all the internet, all the travel, all of this, whatever. And little by little, that has changed. And now we have so many more Jamaicans from all across the country. 65-year-olds, 75-year-olds sending, 5,000, 50,000, 20,000 here. This is all I have, I can give. And so people are beginning to own the party, because we don't want this movement to be owned by anything but the Jamaican people, the vast majority of the Jamaican people. We don't want the PSOJ to own us.
Yes.
We don't want the big banks to own us. We don't want the foreign masters to own us. We must remain a people-led and a people-owned party, of the people, for the people, by the
people. All right. So you see, you've got me there all revved up. All right. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. This is kind of like the substantive part of the conversation. We're gonna take our break because it's 8:30. When we come back, please, if you take a short break yourself, just remember we're gonna be calling your name. We're gonna take a few calls and just give you an opportunity for persons to speak to you. Are you available to continue with us? You did say for an hour. Have we kept you past the hour?
Please go. It's okay. I can go ahead. No problem.
All right. I appreciate it. All right. Oh, I thank you. Okay.
We'll be right back.
What should a taxi service do for you? On-Time Taxi Service is more than just a ride to the other side of town. They offer clean and spacious vehicles, reliable service, and promise to always look out for their customers. They'll come when you call and take you where you want to go on time.
From anywhere at all. You can call us on 926-3866. We are
all major credit and debit cards accepted. It's ABC Electrical Sales. Shop number 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We make your electrical jobs as easy as ABC. Call 754-38258 or fax 754-3659. ABC Electrical Sales. For a better station that makes you feel good.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the program so far on Bess FM. We're on a break right now, and so I just get a chance to chip in with you here. We're talking about so many topics, a lot of topics. I hope you're able to hear them clearly. Yeah, what can I say? We're probably getting our feedback now, right? Can you hear me clearly? Okay, wonderful. So I'm just going to turn this down a little bit so you're not getting the feedback from where you are. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Anna Gillespie and Steve Lynn, Oswald and Cordell. Wonderful. Hope you're enjoying the program. Please stay on a little bit afterwards so we can talk a little. Now, are you getting a feedback from the radio? My people, are you getting a feedback? Or are you able to hear it clearly? Because I have both the oh, it's okay. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, wonderful. So I'm gonna be back on the program now.
We have an honored guest in the house, a man who, even if he never leads the country, he certainly is going to have a tremendous impact on the country.
But you know what?
Mr. Patterson, are you still there?
A man who, if he never leads.
Okay, yes.
You're listening to the radio. Yeah.
I could hear my voice in the background.
You're back. Okay, welcome back. I like just something that you said in terms of mobilization, and you've been building for the last 10 years. So it's not a hurry come up. And as we invite our callers to call in with specific questions for you, we'll allow about 3 or 4 questions, Miss Minette.
3 or 4 calls.
Yes, that they could speak to you and ask you questions, because there's a lot of chatter happening online in terms of what you've been saying and so on. One of the persons says,
you have a question for Mr. Patterson?
No, I don't have my questions, and I've asked some questions. You have been leading the charge, but that's all right with me. Somebody says black people will love themselves again with the UIC system. That's an important comment.
Oh, all right. Mr. Patterson, we have a first caller on the line. Let me just see, because I want to make sure that, it touches on concern what we've been discussing. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Connection.
Yeah, my man.
Good morning. So, we have Mr. Patterson online. Do you have a question and we have to keep it short because we want as many persons as possible to weigh in on this.
Yeah, man. I'd like to find out what he would do as it relates to monetary policy relating to the central bank, as I have several issues with the central bank now. The central bank paying out multiples of monthly premiums that we owe to multilaterals at the time when the country suffer. You have forex issues, other market issues, but I would like to know what he would do about monetary policy as it relates to central bank.
All right, Corey, thanks. That's our local resident economist.
So, Corey, Mr. Patterson has heard your question. We're going to release the line now that you've asked it, and let Mr. Patterson speak to the issue. So thank you, my brother, for hitting it hard right off the bat.
Yeah, man.
Mr. Patterson, you got the question?
Yeah, great question. First of all, the UIC is committed to a monetary policy that gives us control again of our money. Right now, our money is not controlled by us, and you might not be aware, but recently banking laws were changed to decouple the central bank from the government of Jamaica, which makes it more like the Federal Reserves in the U.S., which, as you know, is controlled by private interests for their benefit and not the benefit of the people. So the UIC is going to reverse that. We're going to bring the central bank back under the control of the government, and most importantly, we're going to make it a truly Bank of Jamaica to serve the people of Jamaica, to ensure that all the Jamaican people have access to banking and all the Jamaican people have a monetary policy that protects their purchasing power. This means moving to sound money, away from the fiat currency system and to a sound money system. Ours will not be backed by gold because Jamaica does not produce gold. We're going to back our currency by the productivity of the people of Jamaica. So it will be productive index linked. And so you're always going to have the money supply growing at the level of our productive capacity, which will maintain the purchasing power of the dollar and protect your money, your savings, your retirement plans, and not cause you to have to engage in very risky activities to try to compensate for an artificial inflation created by bad government.
And that, may I say, that is the original premise and principle that underpins monetary policy. It should be linked to your productivity, something that you can control. But what do you think about what he said about prioritizing the debt servicing debt at a time when it may place us at a disadvantage?
Well, absolutely. Now, our hands are tied to a certain degree by previous decisions made by other governments. So your leader will have to be, your government, your prime minister / president will have to be somebody that is adept at international relations and understands how to renegotiate financial contracts and to create win-win situations for those who we have borrowed money from, the people of Jamaica. So far, our political leaders have not been just
they've not demonstrated that agility.
No, yeah.
We have another caller on the line for you, so let me deal with that quickly. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Connection.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning to all black people.
Good morning. We have Mr. Patterson on the line, and we're taking questions for him. Do you have a question for him? He is the president of the UIC.
I have one, but I will begin in. Morning, Mr. Patterson.
Morning.
Yes, sir. In your introduction, I sorry that you didn't say good morning to Jamaicans.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, sir.
It might have been
I
our
would like
fault.
to ask you, what is your philosophy on land reform? 2 questions I'm going to ask you. What is your philosophy upon land reform?
And the second one?
And what is your philosophy upon transfer the wealth from 99% to 1%?
Okay. All right. We heard you. We got your questions. Land
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks. He's going to answer them and we're going to release the line.
Okay, I will listen.
Thank you.
Great question. First of all, the UIC believes in completely ending the concept of crown land because these lands belong to the Jamaican people. We want to make every family in Jamaica a property owner, but we're going to do that in a very skillful way. We're going to, first of all, invest in high-rise, high-quality condominiums to allow every Jamaican family to move out of the ghettos, to move out of the squatter communities, and move out of the garrison.
Are these plans on your website?
Yes, they are. They are. You'll find them in our 10-point plan on the
Okay.
website.
So let me direct listeners to well, maybe not everybody have internet access. You go on, say what you're saying. Those who can't get to the website need to hear it.
Yes. So I'm being very summarized, right? Just to keep it summer level.
Yes.
So we're going to make sure that nobody in Jamaica, no family in Jamaica should be without owning property because it's your right. It's your indigenous right.
It's our inheritance. So you have a sophisticated or a detailed land reform plan.
Yes. But
Okay.
I want to point this out. This is very important. We're not going to have urban sprawl where we just build houses like we're doing now on high quality premium agricultural land. We want to turn those lands into big, massive organic farms that will allow Jamaica to become the organic food capital of the world. 1 point for you to understand where I'm coming from. The Netherlands, one of the smallest European countries, is the second largest exporter of food in the world, second only to the US, because of their effective use of land. I've been there several times.
All right. Let me take another question. There's another caller on the line, and I want to be efficient. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Connection.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Florence. Good morning, Pastor. Good morning, Mr. Patterson.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question to Mr. Patterson. Are you believing in reforming the Constitution?
Yeah, man.
And I have a next question. Are you believing a fixed election date and a 2-term for every president?
Okay. Good question.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
my
you.
brother. We're going to release you from the line so we can take another caller.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
Right. So to the first question of
Constitutional reform.
constitutional reform, the answer is yes. We have a clear plan on making Jamaica's constitution truly Jamaican and one that puts the people at the top and the politicians at the bottom.
Well, you called it replacement of the Constitution, which, we understand this wide role of it. Can you just say, you didn't mention it before, are you keeping the Queen as head of state and the Governor General? And you didn't specifically say it, but we have a listener on the line wanting to be sure that the British monarchy does not continue to feature.
We are going to completely remove everything possible that is colonial from the new constitution. We will have no queen, foreigner otherwise, and we'll have no governor general. We'll have an elected president and an elected senate.
More like a republic.
We will have a true republic.
A true republic.
Okay.
All right. Can you speak to now, will you limit the term of the prime minister, of the president? And what was the other one? And a fixed election date. Would you introduce a fixed election date?
Yes, we will have fixed election dates. In terms of term limits, that will not be necessary when you understand the new model that we're going to put in place. So term limits are there because you have a very corrupt system in the first place.
Just explain briefly for me why it would not be necessary.
Sure. In the new model, we're going to have a separation of the executive from the two branches of the legislature, that is the upper and lower house, as they call it, the Senate and the House. Once you have proper separation of powers, then you no no longer need to have term limits because the people will be able to initiate their own term limits based on their satisfaction. The reason you have term limits now, or want to have term limits now, is because of how corrupt the system is and you want to give them a short time. But what you don't want to do is to stop very successful programs and leadership simply because the term has ended. You want to make sure that people get to make that decision.
All right.
When that
Okay. Thank you. That's the system that you have in place. All right. I'm going to take another call.
Online.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Connection.
Good morning.
Good morning. You have a question for Mr. Patterson?
No, I don't have a question. The only thing I have to say, I would just love to know how I can get in contact with the movement so I can contribute with all my mind, my heart, and my soul. That's all I have to say.
All right, my brother. Thank you for that. We're going to release the line and Mr. Patterson will answer.
Sure. You can contact us on our website at uicjamaica.com and you can call us or WhatsApp us or text us at 293-0812. That's 876-293-0812. uicjamaica.com.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much. Another call is coming in. Go ahead and speak, Pastor, while we process
one of
that.
the comments that I have, the guy out of Singapore is somebody that you have studied, but what he accomplished was in a certain political regime. How do you do that in regards to us? In your introduction, spoke about tribes and being ungovernable. How do you manage that?
Well, let me take a question from outside. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Connection.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have a question for Mr. Patterson?
Mr. Patterson.
Good morning.
I know you're very modest. You haven't told them about your plan for seeing everyone having spaces to grow their own produce. I don't know if I missed that one, and you're big on organic growing.
Okay, that's your question. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. We're going to release the line so we could take another call and Mr. Patterson can address that. So is she right or wrong? You have those plans?
She's 100% right. We're going to move to a new Jamaica where people can engage in farming at all kinds of levels because the government will facilitate that.
Okay. A question online. What are the plans to address access to local beaches? That's one. And will we continue to the system of floating the Jamaican dollar or peg it to an international or basket of foreign currency? Those are two questions.
Well, the second one, he already dealt with that the Jamaican currency and management of our money will be pegged to our productivity. So he will unhook us from gold.
Mm-hmm.
The first question, how will you handle access to local beaches? Oh. Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
Sure. Local beaches will become local again. We will allow the Jamaican people full and unequivocal access to their beaches, and we will manage those beaches to make sure that they're well kept, that they're clean, and that they're environmentally sound.
All right, excellent. Our producer has a question.
Yes.
Microphone live for you, Mr. Producer.
And the question that I raised.
Good morning, Mr. Patterson. I just want to know, given our current structure, let us say that you were elected today. How long would it take for you to implement all of these changes that you're talking about? Because as it stands, you have a very limited time based on the current structure.
Yeah. We need, depending on how many seats we have, if we have a 2/3 majority, it will take us 5 years to implement all the changes. The results or the impact of all these changes will take a number of years to be realized. Within the first year, we will have the constitution change. And after that, we'll be phasing in all the other pieces, which include the tax changes and so on.
All right. Thanks very much. There's a question coming from one of our listeners online who wants to know whether or not you are currently in dialogue with competent Pan-Africanists, advisors to the PLO, Dr. Arikana, Chikombori, and others regarding creative policies within diaspora, home and abroad. Not necessarily the named individuals, but are you in dialogue with Pan-Africanists?
Yes, we're in dialogue with leaders from around the world, actually, different leaders in different countries. And by leaders, I mean organizationally, not governmentally. But persons who have an interest, who have a stake, and so on. We're talking to different people. Yes.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Connection. We have a special guest in the house. Do you have a question for Mr. Patterson?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
I never heard about the fixed election date, and I would just like to give Mr. Patterson one advice.
All right, so the answer on the fixed election date was yes, he will have a fixed election date.
Yeah, and on his T-shirt, he must find a place to put a little Jamaica flag. Keep Jamaica in what's going on.
All right.
You understand?
Okay, thank you,
all
my
right.
brother. I'm
Yeah.
going to release the line and let Mr. Patterson thank you for that suggestion in his own voice. Mr. Patterson?
Sure. Thank you very much. But take a close look at our logo. Look closely at the logo. You'll notice the Jamaica symbol is there, and it has two hands coming together. We have to work together, stronger together, one Jamaica.
All right. So no flag?
Well, yeah, man, the flag, of course, we can put that on our shirts for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. Find a place to put the flag.
Corruption has been a major thing in our society. Somebody's asking, how are you going to recoup the stolen resources that has happened previous if you become the next government with the 2/3 majority?
We won't be able to recoup all of what has been lost, but what we can do is to stop the leak. And we do plan to have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission and an amnesty program, which we're going to use to seek some level of redress. But outside of that, the key thing for us going forward is to stop the leak. And that is by having good checks and balances. And if you look at our system, look at what we're proposing, the new structure, we'll see where we all but eliminated much of the room for corruption in the current system of government.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. You know, it's very tempting to keep you on the line until 9 o'clock because we're not far from there. But I think I need to release you so we
Thank
can
you
have
very much,
some
yes.
general conversation with other callers. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
My pleasure, and thank you. All the best.
Is there any closing thing you want to say or?
Well, sure, yes. I would like to say to all Jamaicans, this is our moment, this is our time. We've had 77 years of one kind of politics, and we've seen the result of that. You might be tempted to be afraid to switch to something new because you're saying all politicians are tricksters. But here's the option. Stick with what you know and get the results you've always gotten, or try something new and see if there's a possibility of something better.
All right. So you're also a poet.
A
I thank
poet.
you so much. I
And
thank you for participating with us this morning, Pastor Percy.
Yeah, but interesting.
Give the man a blessing from me now.
Give him a blessing. Well, I would say to you, I know that because you have brought in different persons from different levels. I know there are pastors involved, different people, and seek God's instruction, wisdom, and guidance as you move forward. God as your guide. Blessings to you, sir.
Blessings to you both. Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful day, Mr. Patterson. Thank you again.
To all of you listening, stay hopeful. Jamaica is not finished yet.
Not by far. All right. So that was a wonderful time.
And that you're satisfied with your answers. I hope you can still hear me. Let me know if you can't. I'm still here. Can you all hear me out there? Can you hear me? Okay, good. So you can hear me. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. I have about 10 minutes or so to take any questions live from our people. I know that many of you watching from, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, maybe seeing something on Twitter. Do you have anything for me that you want to ask before I leave? All right. Most people are saying yes. You can hear me loud and clear. Oh, so there's a little bit of delay. There must be a bit of delay because you're answering my old question, which is fine. Which is fine. You know, Yeah, man. I tell you, I do like to answer questions because I believe that's the best way. And you might be wondering, somebody asked me some time ago, they said, Mr. Patterson, why is it you're able to just answer questions so freely and so easily and are willing to take questions from everyone and answer them? And it's very simple. When you're telling the truth, it is easy to answer questions. When you don't have anything to hide from anybody, it is very, very easy to answer questions. And when you have a sound plan that you have carefully thought about and developed, it's easy to answer questions. The reason why many politicians are afraid to come and talk to the people the way that I do is because most times they're trying to hide something from the people. And they have to, because the system that they're following is one that's based on corruption. So their goal is to hide things, is to trick. So even though that we have this pandemic going on, the government hasn't developed a process or system which allows them to be open and honest with you. If I were prime minister today, the Jamaican people would be so informed and educated about this so-called virus and the so-called vaccine. We would make sure that all the information is available to you. You wouldn't have to go looking all over the place and scoring social media or scoring YouTube to find little videos here or there to tell you what's going on. We would let you know what's going on. You would know clearly what we know, and you'll know clearly what we don't know. You will know what's happening in other countries. For example, right now, I would explain to you that countries like Israel and Singapore have have inoculated a large percentage of their people, 85% of their people, right, and more, and what experience they're seeing. And so you'll be able to hear the facts. So I wouldn't be trying to scare you using fear mongering or anything like that. I wouldn't sign off on any deals with any company to say we're going to mandate a particular prescription for you. We want to make sure that you, the Jamaican people, are in the driver's seat of your health, the driver's seat of your economy, the driver's seat of your education. We don't believe it is the place of government to dictate to you or push you into one direction or another. So Patricia Richards wrote, how will you deal with someone of your party does something wrong for financial gains? Very good question, Patricia. If anybody, whether in my party or outside of my party, in the private sector or in the public sector, in a charity or in a for-profit business, does anything wrong, they should face the same laws, the same consequences, the same justice process. So we do not believe in any special treatment. No special treatment for me as president or prime minister. No special treatment for a minister of government. No special treatment for a public sector worker. No special treatment for a private sector worker. No special treatment for the handcart man on the street. The laws must apply to all of us equally, and all of us must have equal access to protection under the law. How will I handle the IMF issues? Well, thank you for that question, Najai, Don. We will take Jamaica out of the IMF, but not in the way that PJ Patterson did back in the 1990s. We want to be truly out of the IMF and truly out of any nefarious economic models. So we want a Jamaica that is self-sufficient, a Jamaica where we learn to live within our means, and if we want to spend more, we expand our means to be able to spend more. And the best way to expand our means is to invest in our human capital so that our people can create and produce to their full potential. Another question from Kenisha is, what is your take on electronic ID? Will you go ahead with it? That's a very good question, Kenisha. We have no problem with a national ID that is truly Jamaican, where the data resides in Jamaica, and where the ID is designed for the singular purpose of empowering the individual Jamaican citizens. We do not believe in the current NIDS program, which is designed by our foreign masters, which is funded by our foreign masters, and which is being used by our own government against the people of this country. We want a Jamaica, a system of government, a system of identification, a system of economics, a system of monetary policy, which is exclusively designed for the benefit of the Jamaican people and which protects the rights of every single individual citizen. Yeah. So Oswald is asking, what are your plans for African links, trade, travel, etc., especially regular air travel connections? We need to be able to visit Africa regularly. Oswald, very good question. Our plans is to build bridges between Jamaica and the Caribbean and Jamaica and Africa so that we can have easy travel, trade, and integrated economic relationships between all of those countries. We will be pushing for a united Africa. We'll be pushing for a united Caribbean. But before we can do that, we must achieve a united Jamaica. A Jamaica where we're not divided by tribes, we're not divided by color or creed or race, we're not divided by vaccine versus unvaccinated. We want one Jamaica, and then we want to create one Africa and one African diaspora. Okay? Tyrell Stewart is asking, I have confidence that you will change things, but you have one major problem, crime. How will you bring back law and order? Very good question. Crime is a byproduct of all the other problems that we talk about. So when you hear politicians talking about solving the crime problem, they usually come up with a lot of gimmicks, such as states of emergencies, zones of special operations, where they lock up young people and create more criminals. The UIC is more sensible than that. We will create a new Jamaica. Crime begins at the top. The crime problem is a governance problem. It's a bad governance problem, right? So let's make sure we get rid of the corruption at the top so that you don't have men and women in power that are encouraging, facilitating criminal activities and then letting the small man take the hit for it. So we have to fix our borders, make sure that we don't have illegal guns and ammunition coming in. We have to fix our education system, make sure it's producing high quality citizens. We have to fix our economy, make sure it's bottom up rather than top down, so that the average Jamaican can find other ways of earning and producing other than getting involved in criminal activities. And we have to make sure we limit the control of power by decentralizing power in government so that we have proper checks and balances, lower cost of corruption by bringing corruption down, and more circulation of capital within the private markets for people to get jobs and create jobs. Jolana Gregory is asking Mr. Patterson, what will your top 5 priorities be if you are elected PM of Jamaica? My top 5 priorities are: priority number 1, a new constitution. Priority number 2 is an economy that is bottom up, that works for the average man and woman. Priority number 3, to ensure we have a safe, clean, and orderly society so that people can be as productive as possible. Priority number 4 is to ensuring that we starve the gangs of our young people by making sure that they are gainfully employed in one way or another. And priority number 5, to ensure that we eliminate poverty by providing education, nutrition, and healthcare to every student so that they can succeed, and making every family a property owner so that they have good tenure and a good space to live in where they can make a difference and feel confident about living and working in Jamaica. Omega is asking, what are your plans for the airline? Do you plan to bring back Air Jamaica? We plan to allow the Jamaican people to create all kinds of transportation solutions. When you open up the Jamaican market to the Jamaican people, you'll be amazed what we the people can create. So while we will not be trying to have the government own Air Jamaica again, we're going to empower Jamaicans to own not just here in Jamaica, but most of the assets or all of the assets that were previously taken over by foreign interests. Steve Lynn, will we be ready for local elections? I hope so, and that's up to you, Steve, and others. Let us all get together now and create our groups, our UIC community groups. Create your own UIC club where you are. Find 11 people, and the 12 of you make one club and start to expand. Finding each of you find 10 persons and bring them into your club, so you have 132 persons in every polling division in every community. And those 132 persons, that 12 persons that form that little UIC club in your community will be able to bring a total of 132 persons to vote. And if you do that, you would have helped to make sure the UIC is elected in the next local government election. So, Steve, it's up to you and us working together. We are currently interviewing candidates. We have more than 150 applicants right now that we're going through. And so I think we'll have all the candidates we need for the next election. Any other questions? How will the UIC rebuild the health sector for Jamaica? Hospital structures, services, free medication equipment, etc. Beautiful, Stacy. Thank you for that question. The UIC believes in a robust healthcare system that is community driven. So we want to have what I like to call a truly public healthcare system. So a truly public healthcare system, one where it is no longer politicized, but is driven by community engagement, led by top quality professionals, that makes each of these institutions cost effective, customer oriented, and such that the Jamaican people, wherever they are, can access quality healthcare. So we're going to shift the model a little bit from government trying to run these institutions, the government focusing on funding the individuals who need to use these institutions and need help in paying for this, and then allow quality healthcare professionals in Jamaica and from around the world. So you have many Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica who would love to come back here and get involved. So we're going to facilitate complete renewal of the healthcare sector, and same thing in the education space as well. So that we have high quality now, focused on more high quality, and on the government funding those who need the help to gain access to these high quality healthcare and educational facilities. Yeah. All right. So we have now spent 1 hour and 32 minutes together. So I'm going to leave, and get back to work and get some work done to make some money to put food on the table for my family. So, so thank you so very much for your time. It's been a pleasure chatting with you again this morning, and I look forward to doing this again with you soon. So take care until we talk again. All the best. Bye-bye.